You're already sitting here listening, and perhaps as you begin to pay attention, or not, part of your mind is scanning for meaning, while another part begins to relax. Not because I told it to, but because curiosity has its own gravity. Every learner, at some level, is already a trance generator. Even a child staring at clouds begins to imagine shapes, stories, patterns. That's the natural trance of discovery. So while you listen, you can allow that same curiosity to notice something familiar in this process. How every feeling, even the uncomfortable ones, began once as a kind of intention. Fear, the wish to be safe. Anger, the wish to be respected. Confusion, the wish to be understood. Each surface emotion, it hides a core need. And that's where transformation begins. Imagine a mountain lake at dawn. Mist curls above the water like thought above awareness. If you throw a pebble, a problem, a fear, it ripples outward. Now, if you watch long enough, the ripples slow, the surface clears, and you can see the sky reflected. That moment, when motion becomes stillness, that's what core transformation is pointing to. You start with the ripple, the problem. You follow it inward. What's this feeling trying to do for me? Each answer is another ripple leading closer to the center until the water becomes calm, clear, reflective. Then you discover the sky, your core state. There's a story of a young engineer who spent his life building bridges but never crossed one. He worried each bridge might fail, until an old mentor said, "Find the reason you build them." The engineer realized he built not for safety but for connection. The wish for two sides to meet. When he felt that connection inside himself, he no longer feared collapse. Every bridge he built afterwards carried that resonance. That's core transformation in metaphor, turning the external problem into a bridge toward the internal purpose. You can imagine now, as you listen, how someone might begin. Name the problem, like pointing to a ripple and saying, "That one." Ask what it wants from you. If it could speak, what would it say? Listen, not with logic, but with the quiet attention that feels more like noticing than thinking. Follow the answer inward. Each layer, it's softer. I want control, to feel safe, to be loved, to be peace. When you reach peace, rest there. Feel it, even briefly. Bring it back outward. Let that peace touch the original problem, like light dissolving shadow. And somewhere in that sequence, a repatterning occurs, not by command, but by congruence. From a scientific frame, imagine consciousness as an electromagnetic field of thought. Each emotion a waveform, each belief a frequency. When two waves meet out of phase, they cancel. In phase, they amplify. The core transformation process, it's phase alignment between surface emotion and deep intention. When they resonate, interference becomes harmony. And if you consider karma simply as feedback from resonance, then every time you align with a deeper intention behind a reaction, you collapse the interference pattern that would have repeated as suffering. Chunking down to the details, the moment you clench your fists, the breath you hold, the thought you replay. Chunk up to the greater pattern, the purpose. The realization that every clenched fist began as protection, and protection, it's love wearing armour. When you can move freely between these levels, from detail to meaning and back, you begin to steer your own transformation rather than be swept by it. A gardener once complained that weeds kept returning no matter how often he pulled them. An elder told him, "Stop pulling. Start asking what they're feeding on." He discovered the soil was compacted, the water uneven. When he aerated and watered differently, the weeds turned to wild flowers. Same soil, new relationship. Every unwanted pattern in you, it's soil asking for breath and water. That's all core transformation does. It aerates the inner ground. A problem isn't against you. It's a part of you working too hard in the wrong direction. If this anger truly achieved its deepest wish, what beautiful state would exist instead? Which is more powerful, the fear itself, or the part of you that can observe the fear? Like tuning a violin, you're tightening and loosening strings until the note feels right. Each reframe loosens identification and it opens curiosity. The two gateways of trance learning. Now imagine tomorrow you face a situation that once triggered frustration. You pause, feel the ripple, ask, what's this trying to do for me? You sense the deeper wish, maybe respect, maybe peace. And you breathe that feeling outward, letting it colour your voice, your posture, your choice. Notice how that changes the field around you, because emotion is contagious. Coherence spreads. Neurologically, when you reassociate a trigger with a positive core state, you're rewiring the limbic system, shifting amygdala activation toward prefrontal integration. Psychologically, it's called re-anchoring. Spiritually, it's transmutation. But it's the same act, turning energy from one form into another by bringing awareness to it. Think of it like a steady voice saying, "My child, the world isn't punishing you, it's mirroring you. Act from fear, you get confusion. Act from clarity, you get coherence. Not scolding. Guiding through cause and effect. Because every choice carries a consequence. And consequence is simply the universe keeping score of resonance. And perhaps by now you notice this isn't about adding anything new, but remembering something old. The lake was always reflective. The sky was always there. You just needed the ripples to settle. So, as you hear the next line, you might breathe once, feeling curiosity on the inhale and calm on the exhale. Because that's the simplest form of core transformation. Breath meeting awareness, problem meeting purpose, surface meeting core, until they're the same.